Hi everyone, this is the National Master Alessandro Santagati, and in this video we'll talk about the outplay against the Dutch defense, and we'll see the very interesting Hopton attack. Okay, so when we play d4, so black moves f5, so the Dutch with the d to take the center, take the square e4 with the pawn half. The very interesting move that I suggest today is bishop g5. Bishop g5 is very nice because the bishop is spinning the pawn e, because, okay, it's easy. If black moves the pawn, you can simply take the queen, so the pawn is pinned. And if, for example, the black will do knight f6, we can simply take, and the deal will be weaken the pawn structure on the king side, because now the black has to take with the pawn e, and this pawn structure is now very nice for black. And so I think that after bishop g5, the main variation is g6, but recently the black play also h6, and this idea is interesting because the black idea is trap this bishop, and so the question should be, can we give the bishop or not? Can we sacrifice it? Probably I think yeah, because after bishop h4 and g5, a very interesting move for white is e4. And e4 is very nice because the simple idea is free this diagonal, and if the black will take the bishop, I can simply play queen h5 and it's checkmate. So very interesting. No way to cover the king. So very nice mate is. So after e4, the point is how the black can avoid the checkmate, and in theory I think the black has more options. One is bishop g7, one could be, because after queen h5 king can go simply to f8, one could be knight f6. In this first video of this series about how to play against the Dutch defense, we will focus attention about another line, so rook h7. The idea about this move is play rook f7 to cover the king and then take this bishop. Okay, after rook h7, I think it's good for white play immediately queen h5 check, and we will go in a forced variation good for white. So now rook f7 is forced, and now my idea is sacrifice the bishop for the pawn. So bishop takes g5, h takes, and after that, the idea would be retake this rook in the future. Okay, for this time the rook is pinned, but how take it? And the idea would be bring the knight to f3, because after knight f3, the knight can go is to e5, is to g5, so it's clear it would be impossible to stop this knight, because I don't know, if you try to cover g5, I think I win, because I can play knight e5, and then I will play checkmate on the next move. So yeah, bishop h6 is completely wrong. And if you try to cover with d6, to another example, the white will take on g5 and then will take the rook. And I think now white can win, because after knight h6, I can play bishop c4, and the black will lose the rook for free, because I have 3 attackers against you, and now it's not easy to defend this rook. So the black has to pay attention after knight f3, and I played a game in which against another master, in which he played knight f6, but knight f6 is a mistake, because, okay, the knight is attacking the queen, but the queen has another good square in this diagonal, the square g6, and for white is fine, free the h file, for 2 reasons. Is for the pawn that can go forward, is for the bishop that can go to h5. Because if the idea is make pressure against the rook to f7, for me it's very important if a lot of pieces that can attack f7. So knight f6 is a mistake, because yes, in theory the black can take the pawn, but I can play knight e5 now, because the knight can cover g5. And now the only move is knight e6 to defend the rook. And now the very important move for white here is h4. This move is very nice because I threaten to push the pawn, and at the same time, if the black will take, I think white can win easily. So after rook takes, I can bring is the rook to h7, is the bishop to h5. And this is a winning plan for white. We can do an example to see it. If e6, for example, to free the queen and allow rook queen e7 or queen f6, I simply trade immediately to avoid queen f6. And now, after that, I play rook h7. The only move to defend the knight is queen e7, and then I can play bishop e2 to play then bishop h5. And now the black has an important problem, because I'll defend the knight, because for this time it is enough 2 defenders against 2 attackers, but at the next move I will play bishop h5, so the next move the black need an extra defender, and to defend the knight, the only way is bring a knight to d8. So now it's forced knight c6, and after bishop h5, so after bishop h5 the black is forced to play knight d8, and after that the white can simply play with an easy strategy, because at this time white has 3 attackers against 3 defenders, so for white it's impossible win immediately, but the white can understand that if the white will add a new attacker, the white will win. So the strategy here is play knight c3 to develop the pieces, and if the black will try to develop his pieces in the same way, I can play simply castle, and if the black will try to do something, at the end my knight can go to attack, and my knight will go to g6. We can see an example. If the black try to play, I don't know, a5 to free the rook, maybe we can imagine if immediately a5 with the idea to bring the rook to a6 and try to do something in this way. In this case I play castle, we can imagine the rook a6, and after that maybe the black idea could be e5, yeah, but I can play rook e1 for example, and now e5 is impossible because I will play queen g8, and then there is a problem about how to defend it and how avoid knight d5, because if it takes e7 it's checkmate, so it's a very nice position for white. So yeah, it's very hard to defend this position. I think it's impossible here, and yeah, now no defense for black, because for example if the black wait, I don't know, c6 to avoid knight d5, I can simply open the position with g4, and if f4 to block the position. Now I can play knight d4, and now my knight can threaten checkmate. Maybe after rook a6, I can play immediately g4 with the same idea to open, and if e5, not a big problem. I will play queen g8, and now my simple threat is knight d5 with the idea to attack c7 and to make pressure against this knight, because okay, yes, it doesn't work if I think rook d6, because I can simply play knight d5, and if rook c6, I can simply play knight a7 and I go to take the bishop to c8. So no defense for black in this variation. So it's very nice because white is blocking the black position, and after that can simply play knight c3, castle, and add new attackers to win easily. So this variation is wrong, and probably after h4, the only way is push g4, trying to block the bishop, but in this position, this variation, the black has a new problem, because white can simply push h5, and after e6, it's important now for white to take immediately the rook, because if the white push the pawn, if white pushes the pawn, there is queen f6, and now the black can defend the position, because it's true that maybe the black has to sacrifice a piece for the pawn, but now doesn't work. Knight takes f7, and it's a very important problem. This. So for this reason, it's important for white to play immediately knight takes f7, and after knight takes f7, h6. Black has to play queen g5, and for white now it's easy. Trade the queens, push the pawn, and after this move, the white can take a position very good in which the white is up in exchange against a minor piece and a pawn, so the white has a very nice endgame. So this variation is very interesting, and after knight f3, we know now for sure that knight f6 is a mistake, because there is queen g6 very strong, and for this reason it's very important for black to pay attention about this variation. And in the next video about this series, we will focus attention about other variations about this opening, and we will see how black can improve this variation. Thank you for the attention, and see you for the next video. Bye. Remember to follow me on social networks and share the video with your friends. Thanks.